All right, guys, got some colossal breaking news, if you will. A little bit of a reaction to college football this week. Week three, a lot of things happened today that we're going to go over. A lot of the games that were very entertaining, by the way. A lot of the big games were. I guess we'll kind of work our way backwards from tonight. We'll cover some of the games on Thursday as well. But we just got done watching Texas A&M take down Notre Dame. Very classic game, high scoring game, a little bit way more high scoring than I thought it was going to be. To be pretty truthful about that, I thought it would be more of a low scoring type of game. I thought Notre Dame was going to win. I couldn't really imagine. Well, I could have imagined them starting 0-2, knowing how the schedule was laid out. A bit surprised it's actually happening now, and that's the world we sort of live in. For A&M, man, what a huge win for that program. The first time in over 10 years beating a top 10 team on the road. I mean, just the definition of insanity for a program that I think me and other folks too kind of believe that, would have had more wins like this. And it just hasn't happened in a while. So hats off to them for getting that done. Marcel Reed, maybe the best game I've ever seen him play in an A&M uniform. Wasn't perfect, but just incredible to watch him, just do his thing, man. He ran around. He threw the ball fairly well. There's a couple of big plays they had, just a lot of explosion, just a whole bunch of explosive plays. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, I guess we can get to them in a minute. This game ultimately came down to a Tyler Buckner mishandled extra point that cost him the game. And for A&M, man, I mean, look, the defense was what it was. It gave up 40 points or so. Not ideal for Mike Elko and company. I'm sure he would admit that. Probably as we're speaking, he's doing his after game press conference. I'm sure he's admitting, look, defense wasn't necessarily clean in this one, and it was much more of a high scoring game that I'm sure most of us thought. So, I mean, hey, credit versus credit is due. They got the win, but boy, defense today was not an option for both teams. And for Notre Dame, again, offense not the issue here. Look, I mean, they did what they could. They couldn't really run the ball that much. From what I can tell, there's so many games going on. You have the freaking quad boxes going on. Just very busy to really keep track of. But it's tough, man. College football is really tough, man, to really explain. Football in general is really tough to explain, even in the NFL. It's like this. For all these little moments, right, with the botch extra point with Tyler Buckner and whatnot. Because at first I thought it was a 2-point play, and it was not. It was not supposed to be a 2-point play. That was a botched snap, and just total disaster from that standpoint. I mean, for A&M, you got lucky on that, but if you're Notre Dame, I mean, it's the world you live in now. You're 0-2, and I mean, look, the rest of your schedule, based on how it's looking right now, SC probably the toughest game remaining, I would imagine. I mean, well, shouldn't really say that. I mean, you have Arkansas in a few weeks, so there's that. But besides Arkansas and USC, it's a very reasonable schedule. But I mean, it is what it is. You're 0-2. That's the reality, and that's just the way it is. Now 0-2, by the way, for the second time in Marcus Freeman's coaching career. Hard to imagine Notre Dame. And look, this is not me even throwing shit at Marcus Freeman. Still a good coach. My opinion of him has not changed at all. I guess you can add this to the embarrassing list of things he's had there. Losing to like Stanford, Marshall, and last year losing to Northern Illinois, and now having 2 starts to his tenure there. So very fun game, a very high scoring game. So yeah, that was probably one of the better games of the weekend for sure. Let me see here, going through the list here. Well, not the list, just looking through all the games here. I guess before we get to LSU and Florida, that took place today. That was a real game. Let's see here. Where's the game I want to discuss? I mean, this is live, by the way. So this is just, let's see here. Yep, here's the game. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so for Virginia Tech, Old Dominion. There will be a coaching change for Virginia Tech tomorrow. I am kind of convinced that during the NFL games tomorrow, we will get the breaking news that Brent Pry's been fired. It's done. I mean, going 0-3 at Virginia Tech is unacceptable. Now, you guys know my stance on Virginia Tech. It's a program that I have a lot of respect for. Frank Beamer, Shane Beamer's dad, the whole aura of just them, having physical defenses and teams that had heart and never quit. This team quit today. There's no doubt. They quit. And look, give credit to ODU, man. They're a program that has, for some reason, I don't know why. Well, number one, I don't know why they keep on scheduling this game. I mean, I guess in terms of regional, close by, I guess for a G5, but I don't know why Old Dominion always seems to beat Virginia Tech. It's either a close game or they beat them outright. I don't know why, but yeah, Virginia Tech, they quit today. Brent Pry, tomorrow we're probably going to get a formal announcement he's been fired. Coaching search will start pretty early because I'm assuming with a lot of these SEC jobs that will be open more than likely. I'm sure Virginia Tech is willing to get ahead on a lot of these coaching candidates, if you will. So yeah, Brent Pry probably done. Interim coach probably coming in here pretty soon. Just a dreadful game. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's like I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like you're describing a car wreck or a car that's totaled but still totaled. I mean, just because it looks worse doesn't mean it's it's different. But Virginia Tech losing to ODU. I mean, it was 45-26. Like, come on, man. Like, Frank Beamer is probably sitting at his house and going, laughing and whatnot. But that was splattering there in Plattsburgh, and something that I don't think those folks are. Well, shouldn't say that because I mean, look, let's be real. They've unfortunately become accustomed to that, and it just boggles the mind. Well, kind of doesn't. Half does, but half doesn't, because I was pretty even before we started this show, I was pretty staunch on a staunch naysayer, if you will, of hiring Brent Pry. I was not a fan of the hire to begin with. I got fooled last year into believing that you have Cameron Jones coming in. There was some hope that maybe they return the corner of Brent Pry. No. So I think this year, I think this game today, I think was just yet another another signal that the team has quit. So I guess we can go to LSU, man. Look, I picked LSU to win the game against Florida. Got coming out expected. I think for Florida, kind of the same thing with Virginia Tech. Although I think the inevitable is going to come a little bit later, because I think with Florida, what's interesting is that there's, again, I'm just kind of repeating what I said on the Tuesday show. There's a lot of things that Florida does right. Okay, there's a lot of things that Bill Napier does right. He's good, or from the organizational standpoint. And look, Josh Pay has said it all the time, multiple times over the past half year or so about Florida. Organizationally, they're fine. There's no problem with them organizationally. On the field, penalties. We had the touchdown earlier, and hours ago they got called back. The interceptions. I mean, I think you can blame that blame two things. One, DJ Lagway not playing a lot of football because he got hurt a lot of times last year, and let alone he got hurt in the spring and fall camp. And you can blame this a lot on, the coaching staff there with Billy Napier being the play caller. Billy Napier is not some offensive savant. He's not some genius. He's not some the second coming of Stephen Hawking. He's not some all great, powerful person. He's not a good play caller. He's just not. And I think, guys like Bud Elliott have said it before. He's just not a unique play caller. If Billy really wanted to save his job this year, he probably should have gone out and hired someone else to do that. He did not. That's his choice. And, there's nothing else to say about that. I mean, they look dreadful today on offense. And some of it was turnovers. You obviously can't predict that. I mean, if you told yourself that on Friday, hey, one of these two teams is going to have 5 turnovers, guess who it is? I'm assuming most of you would probably pick Florida. So, I guess that game happened. I'm trying to go through the other games here. South Carolina today. They destroyed, or they got destroyed by Vanderbilt. Who called it? We did. I'm patting my chest here. We called it. Josh Pate called it too. So I guess me and him are both on the same wavelengths here. No surprise here. Vanderbilt, serious team. And look at their schedule going forward. I know it's hard to look ahead here if you're, Clark Lee and Barton Simmons, the GM and whatnot, and Jerry Kill and that whole staff there, Tim Beck, the OC. They, being Vanderbilt, probably going to be undefeated going into Bama, going into Tuscaloosa. Imagine telling yourself that 10 years ago, that in 2025, that not only is Nick Saban retired and it's Kellen DeBoer, who at that point I think is at Sioux Falls still, that Kellen DeBoer is not only the head coach of Alabama, but Nick Saban has retired, and they're going to be playing Vanderbilt, and in a couple weeks in 2020 in the 2025 season, and Vanderbilt is probably going to be undefeated. Well, I think Bama is coming off the Georgia game. So hats off to Vanderbilt. Great performance. Not surprised here. I thought there was a really good chance of this happening. This in the Clemson game earlier, which we'll get to in a moment, I felt pretty good about happening. That happened. So kudos to Vanderbilt for getting that done. Huge win for him. Another huge win for Clark Lee. Just another feather in the cap for that program there in Nashville. And I think what this confirms, and this is a broader topic we'll probably touch on the Tuesday show probably, which, by the way, will be on Tuesday night. Similar, well, not as late as this, but this is now early, very, very early Sunday morning. But we'll have a show Tuesday, but it'll be in the evening. But on the Tuesday show, I think this will be a broader, I'd say, sort of a broader topic I've been sort of sitting on a little bit. But it's something that Josh Pate's been really kind of warning us about since the summer, that the SEC has been a total disaster. And I think today it sort of confirmed a lot of that stuff, that even though a lot of these teams did not lose, like Georgia and Bama and I guess A&M winning at Notre Dame doesn't really impact this, but LSU, for example, winning, it doesn't necessarily like represent the total disaster, but some of the scores do, which the Georgia game kind of reflects that. I agree with Josh Pate. I think I'll go into more detail on this on Tuesday, but the best way I can describe what I think the rest of the SEC season will look like league play, it's kind of going to feel like World War II, watching World War II. Like all these superpowers fighting each other for supremacy. It's going to be great. Not the best in terms of league standings, but, hey, for a product, if you're, Disney and ABC, ESPN, pound the back for getting that product because, Fox today had to air on Big Noon Kickoff, Oregon playing at a practice field on Lake Michigan. Cool. Good job, guys. Let's talk about South Carolina. South Carolina will quick look. I didn't get a whole lot of eyes on this game, frankly, because I was glued on to other games. Because also this game got out of control pretty quickly. But I know that Sellers would go down. I don't know the whole injury extent, if you will. But if he's down for a while, this team's totally different. Like the trajectory of South Carolina today has potentially been altered. But Sellers going down because he was the entire offense, and from what I have seen, and from what I can observe from the box score, the offense today, outside of Lenore Sellers, and he was healthy, didn't do very much. Like Nick Harbor, there's this receiver core that people were touting that was going to be so much better. Like did not show up today. So very rarely I make fun of schools and whatnot or teams. But I'll say this: they did not show up today. So where are they at? I don't know. We were told that the running game did not get going that much. Phase on the running back that had the battle to get cleared to be eligible. No show. And against Sellers, if he's out for a while, then like I said, the entire trajectory of South Carolina this season hasn't totally changed. And them being where they were ranked in like the AP poll and whatnot, that's totally going to be inaccurate by the time the season's over with. And I think a lot of folks years from now are going to go, man, that South Carolina team that went 4-8, 5-7 was like top 10 in the country. What? Yeah, that actually happened, or that may have been happening. We'll see. But again, that all depends on Sellers if he's ready to go, if he's fully healthy going forward, which I don't think he's going to, based on what I've gathered. It seems like so. Yeah, South Carolina, your total trajectory this season has completely been altered because of that. Next game, a lot of SEC games here for the most part, but there's a couple of games in like Big Ten and whatnot we can go over. But most of these, unfortunately, are from the SEC. But I guess actually before I get to speaking of games not in the SEC, I guess there is one game that was notable non-SEC. Before I get to Georgia, Tennessee, which I guess that Notre Dame A&M game of the day or game of the year so far. South Florida, Miami. No shock here. I thought, no shock in the result and who won. Was a little surprised it got big like this, but I guess after listening to like certain people like Josh Pate cover 3, I think you could listen to those guys. I think they felt like this was going to happen, and it did happen. This in no way for Miami changes my opinion of them, better or worse. It was a good win over a very, very good team. I think Miami. I know the Notre Dame win looks worse because of the record, not because of the team. The team of Notre Dame is still good for Miami, at least on your resume. And unfortunately, it's come playoff time. I think that may look worse for Miami going forward, but you should not take anything away from that Notre Dame win a couple weeks ago. Or nor this one either, because I think South Florida could still win the American, right? I mean, that's totally a possibility. So no shame in that. And my opinion of South Florida has not changed either. So, yeah, all is good here for South Florida and for Miami as well. Good win for them, and they were able to. I know there was a weather delay, and the game took a lot longer than it should have, but it's all good. Another game too that also took place during that same time that was also delayed was Purdue USC. Good for USC. They avoided the whole body clock thing that a lot of us were worried about, and in a lot of ways showed some maturity. I know the defense wasn't perfect today, but it was solid to get out of there with a win. Same thing with Miami and South Florida. Weather delay, so it was really weird. As the game finished like 2 hours ago, I think, or 3 hours ago, because it started so late. But the folks over there at CBS, Jenny Dale, Brad and Gary. By the way, Gary being honored at Purdue today was pretty cool to watch, at least from what I can tell on Twitter. He's like, we were flipping through the channels today on a lot of games to watch. But yeah, good for USC not getting the time zone bug. Seems like a lot of those teams are handling it okay for the most part. And look, USC last year, man, they did not win a lot of these games on the road. That they were at least equal to or better than talent than a lot of the teams they lost to last year, like Maryland and whatnot. And they did it. At least so far they've done it. Now, there's still a long ways to go, but good for USC, man. Good for USC. And for Purdue, I mean, you did as well as you probably could have. I thought it would have been more of a closer game, but is what it is for Barry Odom. Still a better team, but a lot of new faces and whatnot. They had the like 95% of their team were like transfer portal guys, so no real shame in that. Yeah, Tennessee, Georgia, insane game. Kind of weird. I really do think this Georgia Tennessee game. We'll touch on this on Tuesday in a separate topic. Is sort of a microcosm of what I believe the SEC is going to be like. This in South Carolina. The South Carolina Vanderbilt game. Kind of microcosms of what this season is going to look like for league play in the SEC. This game was wild. Very high scoring. And in fact, kind of went the way I thought. I told you guys on Tuesday, I thought this was a game that was going to be, borderline overtime game. I can kind of feel it. I can feel the energy in Tennessee coming. Atmosphere, great for Tennessee. Great atmosphere. The fans were involved. Josh Pable's, of course, there. Bordeaux from YouTube, College Bowl 26. Video game guy was there. Even he said, as a Kentucky fan, like that, he got chills. I think one thing he said on the socials, just being there, a great experience, and it was a great game too. I mean, much like the Notre Dame game, came down to special teams for Tennessee, the missed field goal, and for Georgia, those receivers stepped up. The O-line 2 stepped up at times, and look, even in a win, and you can listen to Kirby Smart in his post game, and even immediately after the game. There's a lot of things you can say about Georgia, but man, Tennessee, they put themselves in positions to win. They just couldn't capitalize. And Kirby Smart he basically said that after the game was over, that he felt like Tennessee would put themselves in a lot of ways to win this game, and they didn't. Much like in Notre Dame, special teams errors. It happens sometimes. It's college football. It's football in general. You see this in the NFL too. A lot of these little things that can sort of become big things. And you saw that with Tennessee, the missed field goal. You saw that with Georgia early in this game, with Joey Aguilar going off and having big plays, and some of those were overthrown balls and sort of what folks in the NFL call balloon balls or lollipop throws. Very much underthrown. The receivers had to awkwardly catch the football, which was, hey, look, it was a cool play, but I don't know if that's like a thing that you can do consistently throughout the year. So we'll see. Another thing too with Georgia, turnovers, Joey Aguilar sort of turned into App State Aguilar from a couple years ago. So that ended up happening. I think we talked about that on the Tuesday show. So you got those turnovers. The receivers again looked great. The offense sort of opened up a little bit, kind of sort of in a lot of ways sort of feeding into the theories that are out there about, hey, look, the Georgia Austin Peay game didn't look very good. They were saving some stuff for Georgia, or for the Tennessee game, Georgia was. And they did. And I credit to that whole staff there for getting that done. Again, that was an intense atmosphere, probably the loudest Neyland Stadium has ever been for a Georgia game. At least from what I can remember, probably going back to 2015, probably the last time they beat Georgia at home 10 years ago. So, as for Tennessee, again, a lot of things they did today, with the awkward catches and the weird circus stuff, and look, the offense, besides all that stuff, probably the best it's looked since Hooker was there. I'll just be honest with you, it did look a lot better than even it did last year, and this Tennessee team made the playoffs. But that caveat, defense, much like that Syracuse game, again, I told you guys the Syracuse game, there were some signals there that the pass defense was a bit sus, as the kids say. Guess I'm kind of one of them. But it was sus. It was a little, we'll see. Because, Syracuse and Fran Brown, they dialed up some big plays, and they got some big moments there. I believe they scored a couple big passing touchdowns. And that happened here at this Georgia game. And defense bit them in the end here, too, along with special teams errors. Turnovers as well. Aguilar wasn't very clean. Again, the whole short throws and the receivers having to awkwardly catch the football, that's not something that you can, replicate throughout a year. I question if that's able to be, done throughout, consistently throughout a year. So while the offense looked good today and they had, the best it's looked in a long time, I question if it's something that can be done, come after Halloween, right? Around Halloween, are we talking about Tennessee and is their offense doing what they did today against Georgia, even in a loss? I doubt that. I just don't know if they can continue to do the offense in the style they did it, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, very awkward from that standpoint for Tennessee today. Just a lot of weird moments with the receivers having to come back and catch balls. I think they ran the ball kind of well. Again, like I said, I didn't think their running back for Tennessee had to be like O.J. Simpson, right? You didn't have to be this all-time great player. They needed to be the best versions of themselves, and I think they were. But again, special teams, the missed field goal, and defense for them, especially the pass defense, it failed. And I think Josh Heupel would admit that. They have a lot of problems on defense, and I think it was exposed properly today, unlike it was with Syracuse, but the cracks were there. You just didn't see them because it was Syracuse. It's Syracuse. It's not Georgia. Georgia exposed them, and look, that's something that's going to be probably a trend going forward. It started out at Syracuse. Now you're seeing it with Georgia, and I think it's clear that their pass defense is not. It's probably mid, probably in the SEC. And look, I don't know. I mean, there's so much football left, but at this point, yeah, I'm concerned about Tennessee defensively. And internally, it's a Josh Heupel team, so realistically, you're not expecting defense to be the hallmark here, but it was last year at times. So I don't know. But then again, yeah, I think the offense, in terms of the way the offense operated today, and at least stylistically, with the awkward circus catches, I don't expect them to do that. I do think there will be a time this year where a defense will be able to stop them, especially on the road. I think Bama later on, potentially, that they will not look like what they looked like today consistently. And I think there will be a time going forward where Tennessee's offense, the water gets shut off. So, yeah, not really expecting the offensive output today to be replicated that way going forward. A couple of notable games here. Let's see here. Auburn and Oklahoma both survived their test, although Auburn looked a little bit worse today, I think, defensively. South Alabama, as I thought, they hung around a little bit. They wore the white jerseys, Auburn did, and it was kind of odd to see that take place in real life. But they won, so, it didn't look great, and a little concern there, some look-ahead stuff. But Oklahoma, man, going on the road to Philadelphia, fun trip, being able to see the Liberty Bell and things I've actually seen before. Going to a Northeast city or one of the big ones up there. A lot of the fans, I'm sure, had a lot of fun up there. Look, they took care of business on Temple, so good for them. Auburn, little concern, if you will. Not totally concerned, just a little concern. It wasn't all that clean, but you're both undefeated. You're playing next week. We'll preview that game on Tuesday. Let's see here. Oregon State, Texas Tech, not really. It was a blowout. By the way, too, the old the Pac-2. Ugh. North Texas blowing out Washington State. What? Just Texas Tech, Oregon State, good for Joey McGuire and them. Quiet 3-0. By the way, quiet, very quiet. Let's see here. Another game we missed that it concluded earlier today. Arkansas and Ole Miss. Fun game, high-scoring game. The backup quarterback, what's his name? Is it Chamberlain? I believe. Chambliss for Ole Miss, who started for Austin, uh, the other quarterback, who was the starter. I forget the kid's name for some reason. I don't know why I'm forgetting it, but yeah, I should know who it is. But yeah, let me go look it up here, so I'm right. But yeah, the backup QB for Ole Miss looked good. It's the highest scoring game against Arkansas. Good for Ole Miss. Yeah, defense clearly not going to be what it was last year. A lot of those big fellows on defense, like Walter Nolan, for example, they're not there anymore. So obviously the defense has taken a step back. We no real shame in that because again, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, that's not. Yeah, Austin Simmons. Yeah, he was out today, and the transfer from Division III came in. The senior came in, and he looked better than the starter did. Not saying there's an issue here. I mean, it's not a controversy to have two quarterbacks. It's, you have two good options, or generally good options. But Ole Miss, offensively, they flexed their muscles. Defensively, kind of what I expected. It was kind of, whatever. Arkansas, though, it's tough, man. It really is tough. I mean, they tried so hard. I mean, Taylor Green looked great today. He ran the ball well. He threw the ball well. It just is what it is. I don't know what else to say. It just is. Some things are just what they are for Arkansas, and it's I mean, they get Notre Dame. I believe is it next week? I believe is that right? Well, they get Memphis and Notre Dame in a couple weeks. So, I mean, I think you should be Memphis. I think so. You'll get them on the road, and then you get Notre Dame at home. So there's opportunities for you to sort of, use the losses. Hey, we kept it close. We're not a horrible team. We can sort of package this and then just emotionally just unleash it on Notre Dame in a couple of weeks because we'll be back at home. That's possible here. It's very much so possible. But, I mean, it was a high-scoring game, fun game, sort of will get forgotten here in terms of all the fanfare that happened today. But, yeah, that was a fun game to watch for sure. This one, Bama, Wisconsin. We'll get to Clemson here in just a moment because that's certainly the other big story here and sort of the other urgent breaking news. Well, I guess not really urgent, but I guess colossal breaking news. And for some people, not us, because we predicted Clemson to lose, and like me and Josh Pate both agreed on that. Rightfully so, by the way. So I guess great minds think alike. Yeah, Bama, like I thought they would. They flexed their muscles. Good. Ryan Williams looked okay after the whole concussion thing. Simpson looked a lot better, though. I'm still not 100% sold on him. I don't trust Bama just yet. But I think we do. And again, this is another reminder of this whole SEC thing that we're going to talk about on Tuesday as a broader topic. Maybe a lot of folks need to recalibrate their expectations for Bama. Now, look, they get Georgia. Both Georgia and Bama, by the way, get a bye week. So you can heal up, get ready. The SEC, again, I think it's going to be like watching, reading about World War II. It's going to be like all these big, powerful teams fighting each other for supremacy. And a lot of these teams are going to lose a lot of games. Some teams will win and get lucky. But Bama, they flexed their muscles. They got I'm not saying they totally got right, but at least the temperature and the rhetoric has been toned down just a little bit on Kellen DeBoer, which I thought was stupid to begin with the whole firing him and whatnot. And just the whole rhetoric around him was really just out of control a little bit, I thought. Though I thought the concerns were legitimate, I just felt like the whole, fire Kellen DeBoer argument and this whole the temperature was just going out of control. And I thought this game sort of cooled things down a little bit for at least 2 weeks. So that's good. But they look good. Wisconsin, I don't know what else to say. It's going to be bad for them, I think. I think it's really bad for them. Clemson, Georgia Tech, huge win for Brent Key. Again, man, what is it with Brent Key being unranked and pulling out these big upsets? They did last year early in the year. Emphasized early in the year against Florida State when they were a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away in the top 10 last year. Did it against them. Miami kept it close against Georgia, and I think a lot of us, including me, Josh P, were telling you guys, look, just because it didn't beat Georgia last year, even though it was a long overtime game, that was still going to be a good team the next year. And everyone thought we were all stupid and dumb. And then, the Colorado game happened. It's like, oh no, Georgia Tech's falling apart. And no concern here, even though Brent Key was saying, oh man, practice was terrible this week and all of this and that. All of us thought, me, Josh Payne, and others thought this game, early in the year when Clemson comes to town for Georgia Tech, that's the Super Bowl. That is the game where they will basically announce themselves as a legitimate threat to make it to Charlotte for the ACC championship game. And here they are, as we all thought, undefeated. The AP poll will be behind on them. The Tuesday poll and other people's personal polls were not behind on that. We've had Georgia Tech consistently in the top 15. We were correct on that. They look good today. Again, good for Brain King, good for that program, man. Again, I agree with Josh Pate on his little sentiment about Georgia Tech, just in general about they're a program that has not been tapped has not been tapped properly because of them being in Atlanta, the crossroads of the South, the biggest city in this part of the country. The crossroads of the SEC and the ACC. It's a school that sort of like Stanford under Shaw and Harbaugh back in the 2010s and 2000s. That if you bring the right person in, of the right mentality, they could do some big things there. Even with the whole academic stuff and restrictions and all this and that and the other, there was that potential was always there. It was, the classic cannot versus have not. It wasn't they cannot do it. It's they have not done it. And they hired Jeff Collins and that was a disaster. They tried to hire Willie Fritz years ago and they didn't. They went Brinky instead. And a lot of folks were making a big deal about it. But man, huge for Brinky again, man. What is it with him of being unranked and beating these top 10 teams? Just incredible to watch. So once again, folks were sleeping on Georgia Tech, and rightfully so. Me and other folks picked them to win, and this was something that we were warning you guys about for almost half a year. And here we are, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Florida State, not Clemson, and running for Charlotte. And for Clemson, like I said on Tuesday, and I've been saying a lot, I don't recognize Clemson anymore. I don't. I do not recognize them. I think what is interesting for Clemson is that, again, the fans don't recognize them. I don't recognize them anymore. They're just not the same Clemson anymore. And I hate to, sound like I'm running a post-mortem on Clemson football or running a obituary on them, but I don't think you're getting the old Clemson back anymore. I think that time has gone. I think Clemson, and I think the way the program's going, is a totally uncharted territory for them, at least in the modern college football, at least in today's college football. Uncharted territory. Like, we don't know what this is going to look like going forward. They're 1-2 right now, the worst start, I think, in Dabo Swinney's coaching tenure in a long time. Something that you're not used to. I'm sure the fans there, and, from Spartanburg to, the coastline there to the Outer Banks, I think a lot of folks are pretty much stunned right now, and they should be, because this is not Clemson football. At least this is not the way you think of Clemson football in the world of, like the playoff era of Clemson. And again, like I said, number one, I don't recognize them anymore. And number two, I think the old version of Clemson we got, prior to 2020, it's not coming back. And even with the coaching changes that they made and bringing in, Garrett Riley and Tom Allen, which I thought they were great additions, right? I thought Dabo Swinney made those changes. But sometimes in a lot of ways, and you've seen this with certain programs like Michigan after Lloyd Carr retired and after the whole App State thing, sometimes you don't get the old version of yourself back, at least for a while. And for Clemson, I think that reality's come. I think I just don't recognize them anymore. And you can chalk it up to, again, internal stuff with Dabo being, 1 foot out the door and 1 foot in. And there might be some, maybe the culture starting to, turn on its head, and it's all of a sudden become very rotten, which is potentially possible. I worry about this team quitting. There's a chance they could quit. I know, with Florida and Virginia Tech, they've already quit. I think I said on Twitter today, I think UF quit today, and I think they did, especially very towards the end there. And I think that in itself sort of signals a long, road ahead for Florida. Potentially their worst season since probably the last year of McElwain, probably. But for Clemson, I think this team definitely is in the quit watch category. I think they are. I think there's just something wrong here with Clemson. And like I said, I don't recognize Clemson, and nor do I believe the old Clemson of the 14 playoff era, if you will, is not coming back. I think, in a lot of ways, it's sort of lost its magic, and it's not coming back. So very, very depressing to say that, but look, good for Georgia Tech. On the flip side, for Clemson. It's kind of a lot of ways we're writing the obituary for Clemson. And look, I hate to do that this early in the year, but this is something that we were saying after the Louisville game last year. Again, that you had the bye advantage in, and you're at home, and you lost that game. You lost it pretty definingly. This, to me, feels like the Louisville game last year all over again. Just a little bit different circumstances. And not to mention, the Troy game last week. I know a lot of folks were laughing at it going, oh, it's just like 2016. That Troy game that Clemson team that won the national championship. They struggled with Troy. No one remembers that game. Well, this year is different. This year is not 2016. Again, that version of Clemson is not coming back. And I think that Troy game last week is not some little thing. It's a big thing, and it's something that's becoming a trend, unfortunately, for Clemson fans. So I guess we can go all the way back to Thursday. Something that's – I can't believe this. So Colorado, Houston, Colorado brought in the third string. I know a lot of folks were wondering if, Juju Lewis, the 5-star kid, would come in and start. He's not ready. That's not reality for them. At least at this moment, kind of is what it is, right? Dion post-Shador. And look, my opinion on Dion as a coach has not changed. His clock management is atrocious. Him as a coach has not changed yet. And look, we'll see if they can, right the ship and circle the wagons, but not really looking too good right now. Actually, before we get to Kansas State, Arizona, which happened yesterday, want to touch on, just lost it for a second there. Who was I wanting to touch on, or at least talk about? Who was that? I had it. Maybe I'll think about it here when I go over Arizona and Kansas State. But I had a game I wanted to talk about that just left my mind for a second. But I guess we'll just kind of wrap up here with Arizona and Kansas State. Kansas State is their reality. They're now 1-3, I believe. Not what I expected. I will wear the fact that I picked them to go to the Big 12 championship game. I was totally wrong on that, and I will wear it. They're 1-3. That's the reality. They're probably gonna like them. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Colorado. They're probably the worst teams in the Big 12 right now. I think at this point. So that's kind of reality right now with them. The other game I want to talk about, I guess happened this same night, was UCLA. Oh man. First of all, the Rose Bowl being half empty, shocker. I mean, that's been the case for like 10 years plus. They got destroyed by New Mexico. Not New Mexico State, not that program. It's New Mexico, who have their offensive coordinator, Tim Beck. There's two Tim Becks. There's one at Vanderbilt and the one at Utah. With Dan Pierre, who's at Utah now. It's basically that same program that had those two, had Tim Beck, the OC at Utah, leave with this quarterback, and the same team that lost their head coach, Ron Camino, was at Utah State. Totally new staff, a team that also struggled with Idaho State, the same team that almost beat UNLV week 0. Utah State destroyed UCLA. Just insane. Just to think about the fact that it was 35-10, I believe was the final score. I do believe that we are going to get some. And I hate to see you do this because I'm not a big fan of doing this whole hot seat thing. I do believe that we are going to have a lot of big things happen tomorrow in college football, specifically in coaching changes. Again, I think Virginia Tech, that's coming tomorrow. Again, I won't be surprised if you're watching those NFL games tomorrow and you get the notification that Brent Pry has been relieved of his duties. I believe the same thing with Deshaun Foster. I think he's a goner, unfortunately. And the same thing with Napier. I think that's at least not right now. I think Napier is coming a little bit later because I think they're, at least if you're Florida, both him and Scott Strickland probably out. I think if you're the admin there, you probably want them to wear these losses, especially with Miami next week. So there's that. So again, we'll have our traditional show on Tuesday at night, so just be on the lookout for that. But just quick reaction here, a bit of urgent breaking news. Again, I had a game I was going to talk about. I just didn't. I don't know why it's slipped in mind. Maybe I'll think about it. Of course, I'll think about it after I leave the air here. Let me see if I can find it, because I do want to talk about it. I just don't know where'd you find it. I guess Duke Tulane won. Good for them. Benza, the former Duke quarterback, got revenge on them. How about that? Penn State looked okay. Ohio State, whatever. It's fine. Yeah, Oregon Northwestern. That's who I want to talk about. Yeah. A sleepy start again. I thought this would have been a more of a closer game. It wasn't. But Oregon, again, much like the Purdue game last year, sort of avoided the whole East Coast thing. Yes, I know they give up 14 points, and Dante Moore didn't look absolutely clean today. He had an interception late, but, is what it is. And, yeah, I mean, Missouri looked good. Nebraska, by the way, them and Michigan. Biff Poggi, by the way, going to be the interim for that game. That's going to be a huge game for the Big Ten. So, mark your calendars and plan accordingly. Let's see here. Other games you talk about, Iowa, they looked okay. Some of these other games not really that notable. A couple games are still going on, like Boston College, Stanford's going on right now. I don't believe there's a score in that game yet. Let me actually check here. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any live scores here on those games. I guess we can discuss those. Let's see here. Texas, yeah, I forgot to mention them. Not great today. That was, once again, dreadful for Texas. Again, I think that's more of a reflection on the SEC in general. That's another game I forgot to mention. Let's see here. Scrolling through. That's SEC based. Let's go to, or top 25 based. Let's go to FBS here. Let's see here. Yeah, current scores. Looks like Minnesota, Cal, low scoring game. Utah State taking care of Air Force. Boston College, Stanford, good game, by the way. I believe that's on ACC Network. How about that? Texas State, Arizona State. Arizona State kind of a get-back game. They're, at the moment, beating the team from San Marcos, a team that they almost lost to last year. So, how about that? Looking through here again, I think we cover every single team we were looking to cover. Illinois, still undefeated. That's good. Arkansas State, Iowa State, another one I forgot to mention. Told you guys this is a game I was worried about. And there it was. I was, for Iowa State, and you're sweating there for a little bit. Like, whoa. Yeah, no surprise here. This one, impressive here. And again, another impressive one for Utah. Doesn't seem like it, but trust me, the dynamics, and I think Josh Pick talked about it yesterday on Friday during his Friday Night Lines thing. Same with him. I was very concerned about this Utah-Wyoming game, given the location, it being, Laramie. It's always windy up there. They survived Laramie. They won pretty emphatically. Again, once again, Devin Dampier was the main attraction here for them. So good for them getting through Laramie and avoiding a huge loss there. Let's see here. Anything else notable? I guess Kent State, poor Kent. Look, they have to play Florida State next week. Ugh. And they're off a bye, too, so they're rested. Let's see here. Any other name else notable? We talked about the two Pac-12 teams. Ugh. Combining, they scored a combined 13 points today. Like, come on, really? Just not great. Oh, yeah, the backyard brawl, Pitt and WVU. West Virginia, Rich Rod, huge for them. Huge win for them. Now, great for them. That was a good game. I didn't watch all of it. I watched some of it. Very entertaining overtime game. That one's going to get not talked about a whole lot. Bowling Green, Liberty. Bowling Green actually won that game. Kind of concerning if you're a Liberty fan that you should have been running that conference given your talent and who your head coach is. So kind of odd that they're not taking advantage of that at the moment. Let's see. You're kind of going for the list here. Talked about Purdue. Talked about Old Dominion. Can't believe that, man. Virginia Tech at their home stadium too. Like their home stadium was like half empty by the time the fourth quarter got there. Like there were probably more fans at my local high school game than even that here in Jacksonville. So, let's see here. Eastern Michigan and Kentucky. Kentucky won today. Good. Even though they gave up 300 yards passing, not good. Looking forward here. I don't see anything else that meaningful to talk about. We've kind of talked about all the big games. Like Syracuse won, Colorado won. Talked about those games, or they lost. Talked about Arizona and Kansas State. Arizona, by the way, quiet 3-0. So Brennan's waving below. By the way, not a conference game, too. So that's non-con. So those two teams, that doesn't do anything for the conference, but for Kansas State, they're them, Oklahoma State, Colorado, going to be battling for the last place there, unfortunately. And then you have UCLA, who has yet to win a game yet. So that's fantastic. So that's it for the recap. Again, we'll be back on Tuesday for a normal show. Again, this is not going on Spotify. This is a non-Spotify podcast, if you will. It's YouTube only. So again, we'll be back on Tuesday, not a regular time, but yeah, I mean, we'll, of course, Tampa plays on Monday night, NFL games tomorrow, so I guess enjoy those. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you on the next stream.